This video is sponsored by Crimson Manifesto and Knuckles OX. Yo peeps, you know the deal. I'm showing you a screenshot from my analytics to put into brass tacks how many of you could really help out the channel by just clicking that bright red subscribe button, since about 90% of you are regular unsub viewers, coming back to watch the content pretty consistently. So please go ahead and subscribe since it's free and you can change your mind whenever on it. Doing that along with leaving a like and commenting your thoughts or simply the words algorithm fuel can go a long way to help me out and make all the effort that goes into these stories by me and multiple other people worthwhile. Now, please enjoy the show. Harmony of Revenge and Blades. What if Zabuza survived? Part 10, Act 2. We resume with the Taka as they infiltrate the Valley of Clouds and Lightning. Their goal is simple: capture the Jinchuriki of the Eight Tails and deliver him to Tobi, who they now know as Madara, with the promise being that in return, he and the Akatsuki will assist in Taka's new mission of eradicating the Hidden Leaf Village. As the leader and strongest combatant of the group, Sasuke leads the charge, confronting Killer Bee with just his Kusanagi at first. This goes a little better than it did in canon, thanks to Naruto's breaking into the same niche as he, inspiring Sasuke to hone his Kenjutsu that much further. But challenging one as skilled as Bee in this area half-cocked still ends with Sasuke requiring aid from his allies' abilities, granting him the boosts and advantages he needs to pull through, as he adjusts to so quickly losing so much raw power now freed from Orochimaru's ilk. However, unlike the main timeline, here Sasuke has something still up his sleeves that is actually capable of giving the Eight Tails pause other than his newly awakened Mangekyo Sharingan, his Kiba blades. But when pulling them out, Sasuke does not take a swordsman's stance, instead, locking their grips together so their blades are perpendicular to each other before pumping them full of lightning chakra. This alone is enough to give Bee pause, knowing the legacy of those blades, but it seems Sasuke is not done, with him soon slotting his own sword of Kusanagi as the arrow in this bladed bow. Then to truly ensure that this attack will be the definitive end to the battle, he activates his Mangekyo, setting the Kusanagi blade alight with the dark flames of Amaterasu. This threat is too much for Bee, with him using the Eight Tails to form an inky smokescreen and retreat. Though with his enhanced eyes, Sasuke is still able to faintly make out the man's silhouette and strike him in the back, downing him. But this is not a lethal wound, simply a winged shoulder as if hit by a real arrow, while the rest of the body is immobilized by the remaining electrical force. Since Madara had been very explicit about not killing the target, but it is certainly enough to incapacitate him. Thus, a testament to how fearsome yet precise Sasuke has remained even after seemingly losing strength, allowing Taka to bind their victim and carry him off with far less trouble than they'd see in our canon. Though little do they know, what they have is in fact merely a tentacle clone, with the real Bee watching from afar, being forced to sacrifice 4 tentacles rather than 1 as in canon to fool this keener and more honed Sasuke. And even then, he feels a cold feeling as if he's only playing into someone else's hand. As while the rest of the Taka celebrate the victory, Sasuke spends an uncomfortable amount of time looking to the horizon in the direction Bee had chosen to hide away in, before finally leaving to join his Taka. However, Bee soon decides to shake the sensation off, quickly back to thinking of new rhymes. Back in the Leaf, Pain's assault has begun in earnest, and so dozens of brave shinobi have charged forth to confront the Pains. And subsequently, dozens of brave shinobi have died. Now amidst the piles of corpses lining the main street, the second wave of the Leaf defenders take their shot at the invaders, with Konohamaru being among them. In his youthful enthusiasm, he ignores his sensei's calls to return to him, instead joining the charge right at the nearest Pain, that being the Naraka path. Though the big brute is probably twice his height and 3 times his weight, the young son of Sarutobi shows no fear, as he feints a slash with his sword to open his opponent up while forming a Rasengan to slam into his face. For a moment, it looks like Konohamaru has dealt a decisive blow, as the Naraka path's neck is jerked suddenly to the side by the impact. But then, it turns its pitless ringed eyes on the boy, having caught the attack in time to halt his advance any further, since here it was much more direct and easy to read. And so, the young brunette realized that he has not in fact killed the beast, but instead run headlong into its lair. Without a word, the Naraka path delivers a knee to the chin, which carries the young leaf ninja into the air before following up by planting a foot squarely in Konohamaru's chest, sending him flying and sprawling backwards while knocking the wind out of him. Tripping over a corpse, he quickly finds himself on his back, and seeing a chance to kill another leaf shinobi, Pain advances on him. However, before it can get near, a trio of mud walls burst up around the Naraka path, boxing it in from all sides except one, that being from the back. And when the corpse doll turns to look in that direction, he sees Moegi and Udon both giving it evil looks, filled with killing intent highly reminiscent of Zabuza. Udon then charges in, his sword raised, while Moegi covers him with a volley of pinpoint accurate Sinbone that attempt to pin the Pain to a mud wall. However, the corpse simply weaves past him to get to his first victim. Being only a small preteen himself, the Naraka path attempts to grab Udon's skull and crush it, though as soon as it makes contact with the boy, it finds him dissolving into a mucosal facsimile that traps the path up to the wrist and snot. The real Udon then appears on Moegi's side, while with a pop one of her Sinbone which intentionally missed the Naraka path transforms into Konohamaru mid-flight. allowing him to kick off the mud wall behind the corpse and strike it with a Rasengan to the back, all the while screaming Will of Fire style, collaborative silent killing. With no way to defend itself, the Naraka path is sent hurtling forward, its encased arm being torn off at the shoulder. And just before it hits the ground at their feet, Moeki used her Thousand Needles technique to pin it down while Udon beheads it, thus bringing a fitting end to the Naraka path. And, for good measure, as he'd heard rumor of the supposed zombie Naruto had captured for questioning, Konohamaru uses his uncle's burning ash jutsu to immolate the corpse so it can't pull any nasty tricks. While from his side, Moeki lightly scolds, reminding that by calling out the name of the silent killing technique, he's giving away its main advantage. While Udon attempts to push his glasses up so they flash coolly next to his rivals, only to have to blow his nose at the end. Konohamaru laughing that maybe he did, but she's gotta admit that it was still pretty badass. Meanwhile, another team is hard at work in their attempt to slay Pain's animal path, though they are unfortunately down a member, that being the remnants of Team 7 in just the form of Sakura and Sai. Fortunately, both are talented shinobi who in recent months have grown exponentially thanks to their desires to keep up with Naruto and training under the disguised owl, meaning that even with him absent, they were able to hold their own. Having recently gained mastery of the chakra scalpel technique, Sakura used it now to take the lead in this fight, using anatomical accuracy to critically hit the crucial chakra points of the animals this path summons, thus neutralizing them before they can even become a threat, even turning the dog summon splitting against it, resulting in it accidentally mutating its body into a writhing mass incapable of moving. As she does this, Sai focuses on the human body of the animal path, his intentions being to cut this relatively weaker threat off at the source. However, while his kin, nin, and taijutsu are adequate for the requirements of a root operative, the corpse puppeted by the supposed second coming of a myth is able to evade and sick new beast on for Sakura to fight off constantly, reminding Sai of his youth being pitted up against the root's strongest to deaden him to the fear of death. However, now with friends like Sakura and Naruto, who've returned that fear of dying for him, he has found other ways to overcome impossible odds, forming a ram seal so the immobilized dog summon begins to writhe and wriggle behind the summoner. While the corpse body tries to herd them near its bull summon Sakura is currently testing her strength against. The dog summon finally bursts in a rain of ink from packets Sakura has sneakily implanted. Without the aid of another pain to whiten its vision, Sai is able to disappear in the rain, revealing himself to have jumped up high and executed a spiraling dive, carrying and propelling ink at high speed, allowing Sai to draw the kanji for severance with his blade before he lands, and thus reduce the body to chunks in one fell swoop as he sheathes his tanto. As this is happening, Zabuza, who had run after his kids as soon as he saw them enter the fray, finds himself engaged in a duel with the Ashura path, its ability to create blades from its arms matching up well against the Kupikiri Bojo. However, as Zabuza is about to prove, one who dabbles in the way of the blade will never surpass a warrior who dedicates themselves to it. Yelling at his comrades to give him some room, Zabuza spins in a wide arc as he enhances himself with wind chakra and forms a small cyclone. And as the momentum of the executioner's blade clashes with the foe's source of pain, the imitations prove no match, and so he threatens mutual destruction by manifesting a mass of missiles at the end of Zabuza's current slash. However, even seeing this, Zabuza doesn't hesitate, continuing to shatter the enemy's weapon under the pressure and allowing Zabuza to cleave the Ashura path in half, before a countless number of sequential slices cleave through the expected explosion, killing the heat and dispersing the force so it splits out further to disintegrate the corpse doll. Next up for the former mist assassin is the Deva path, as it seems to be the leader, and with it gone, this nightmare will finally be over. However, Zabuza is not so arrogant a man as to think he can take on the leader of the Akatsuki on his own, so calls Kakashi to his side. With his white-haired comrade falling in step with Zabuza, neither needing to say a word as they zero in on the Deva path. Due to the Pain's 6 remaining linked eyes, the Deva path sees them coming and turns to face his 2 opponents, an indifferent sneer on its face, but neither Jonin left has troubled them, with Kakashi unveiling his Sharingan and rushing into strike Pain with a lightning blade, while Zabuza leaps high into the air and attempts to bisect the corpses vertically with the chakra-enhanced blade. Unfortunately, such simple tricks will not kill Pain, with him raising a hand to lazily blow Zabuza away with repelling forces, while just as casually raising a foot to kick Kakashi in the face. His leg span being greater than Kakashi's arm length, thus allowing him to prevent Kakashi from even getting close enough to use the lightning blade, and forcing him back with a subsequent kick to the chin. As both Leaf Shinobi hit the ground, Pain lays his purple eyes upon Kakashi as the closer of the pair, raising a hand and pulling him in. However, Kakashi is not out of tricks, pulling a weighted chain out of his shuriken pouch and hurling it at Zabuza's drop Kurakiri Bocho. As the chain's weight wraps around the hilt of the sword, it too is pulled towards Pain at a faster rate than Kakashi is, and this forces the orange-haired invader to cease his pulling, lest he be run through by the man-sized blade. And as Kakashi is given a chance to drop to the ground again, Zabuza launches his own counterattack. During the time Pain has been occupied with his white-haired friend, Zabuza has been performing the 44 hand seals necessary to create a full-strength water dragon jutsu, and now at last he is ready to use it. Though he does not have a significant body of water to draw on, he does still have the materials he needs, as he imbues his chakra and will through the spilled blood of his comrades that pools on the ground, the tears of the ones who loved them, and the sweat of those still fighting. Gathering all this up, Zabuza creates an ugly pinkish fluidic dragon, but as he looks up at its massive scale, he feels nothing but pride. For this is the physical manifestation of the Hidden Leaf Village's pain. The very pain this orange-haired freak wanted to inflict on them. Well, now he's got his wish, and Zabuza's gonna make sure he knows it. Letting out a mighty roar, the dragon surges forward, its glowing eyes locked squarely on Pain. But in spite of this, the invader does not blink, instead letting the beast approach before raising a hand and simply blowing it away. Zabuza and Kakashi are both stunned by this casual show of force, with the latter, who is closer to Pain, being forced to shield his eye as the foul concoction that made the dragon crashes over him like a wave. Kakashi only closes his eyes for a second, at the exact moment the wave of blood, sweat, and tears hits him, but this is all it takes, with Pain darting forward, a broken kunai from one of his many victims in his hand, and before Kakashi can react, he rakes it deftly across the Jonin's throat, slitting it and ensuring its death. Just as quickly, Pain appears above Zabuza, who is still laying where he fell, and before the reformed Sasuke can rise to his feet as he always does, he is run through by one of Pain's chakra rods, which ruptures several vital organs and seals his fate just like Kakashi's. As his own blood begins to pool around him, Zabuza can't help but think back on his life, how he made a lot of mistakes. But even if it means dying here, joining the Leaf wasn't one of them, and he just hopes that wherever he's going, that he has finally earned the right to see Haku one more time. However, before he can close his eyes for the final time, the former Mist Swordsman sees one more familiar face, one he had not expected to: Naruto. Standing proud, the young Jinchuriki plants his sword in the ground, a symbolic gesture that causes the Deva Path to cock its head slightly, asking what exactly Naruto means by it. A fierce look on his face, Naruto explains that it's a warning. If Pain goes beyond that point to hurt his village again, he will be forced to draw the blade and kill him. However, if the orange-haired invader leaves now, he will not pursue vengeance, and the cycle of hatred growing between them can end. That's what Pervy Sage would have wanted for his students, rather than them hating and killing each other. But he can't make that decision on his own. Nagato must choose to end the cycle as well. This usage of Pain's former name stuns the Deva Path, but only for a moment, with his face soon darkening, as he tells Naruto that he has entirely misunderstood the situation. He is not the aggressor whom Naruto now gets to forgive. Instead, it was the Leaf who wronged him, who killed his family, destroyed his village, and now this is his righteous revenge. To prove this point, the self-anointed god raises his right hand, a declaration of almighty push on his lips. But before he can launch his devastating blast, Naruto springs into action. With grim acceptance that this fight is unavoidable, the blonde youth makes it his priority to minimize further casualties, and right now, that means stopping whatever this move is about to be. To do this, he summons a handful of wind chakra, while beside him a shadow clone molds into his now perfected Rasen Shuriken, the bladed orb being driven into Pain's palm at the exact second of the push. The resultant force goes off like a bomb, albeit a much smaller one than in canon, with Naruto and Pain both being sent skidding back, bruises and cuts lacing their arms up to the elbow. Unfortunately, not every combatant is so lucky, with the remnants of the downed Pains being scattered so far that nothing can put them back together, while Zabuza and Kakashi breathe their last. With his Sage Mode sensor skills, Naruto feels their passing, a lump forming in his throat as he reflects upon how almost all his mentors are now gone. But no matter, he will use the gifts they left him to bring peace back to the Leaf, and in doing so, prove that he has surpassed them and is worthy of carrying on their legacies and inheriting their will of fire. Locking eyes with Naruto once more, Pain orders the blonde to draw his blade and fight seriously, but once more, Naruto refuses, his demeanor markedly different from their encounter in the Hidden Ring. Gone is the callow youth who lusted for battle, and in his place now stands a stoic young man to the point that Pain could almost call him serene if not for the fire burning in his eyes. As his eyes alight with fury as well, Pain hisses that Naruto is a hypocrite, slinging a rod to skewer him just like Zabuza, but deftly, Naruto catches it, then crushes it in half. However, in the moment his attention is diverted, the puppet of Yahiko vanishes. Recognizing this, Naruto leaps away, as he is almost struck with a whooshing blow from a longer chakra rod held in a Bojutsu stance. Pressing his advantage, Pain follows through multiple strikes that Naruto seemingly avoids only narrowly, but from its true location, Nagato could tell this is not the case, as he finally retaliates with a headbutt to drive the corpse back hard enough, leaving divots in the torn earth. He then follows through with a powerful punch that carries a secondary blow of air pressure which throws Pain even further back, as he becomes significantly impressed Naruto has mastered the Frog Kumite and even his base form. Righting himself, the Deva Path prepares to blow the entire village away from more room, while also taunting that Naruto's reliance on his sword has robbed him of his ability to fight at a distance, causing the boy to claim that his divine eyes aren't worth much if he can't see it, stating that the blade is himself. He then creates a clone and holding its hand, swings it so that it can launch a kick which carries the same sagely properties as the earlier punch into the open air. A moment later, this creates an updraft of pressure which actually manages to blow Pain out of the village proper without much further damage, while Naruto gives chase by having the clone use the momentum it has built up to throw the original after him at high speed. Landing in the village outskirts, Naruto sees that Pain is now not alone, as his two remaining spare corpses have now converged on the leader, those being the human path and pervy Sage. At once, Naruto is overcome with a flood of emotions, relief at seeing his mentor's face again, regret at the role he played at the man's death, and white-hot fear at the way his corpse has been desecrated and toyed with to become the plaything of its killer. This final emotion is one Naruto focuses on, his eyes briefly taking on a red-slitted appearance before he forces them to return to normal. Last time, he let his emotions get the better of him, and someone he cared about died. This time, he's fighting with his head like the toads, like the pervy Sage. At this thought, Naruto's eyes change once more, though this time, instead of being red, they're yellow with toad-like pupils and orange markings around them. This surprises Pain, who has his human path rush in to try and dispatch the boy, before he can do damage to them in that troublesome form. But this just brings the path into taijutsu range where Naruto can swing at it. At first, this appears to merely be a swing and a miss, as Naruto's strike goes wide. But then to Pain's surprise, his corpse puppet is blown back, a scuff on his cheek as though it had been struck. Growing tired of this trick of the sages, when Naruto goes in for a heavier follow-up blow, Pain has the path step back to be outside the hit's range. However, it seems that once more the invader has underestimated Naruto, and despite not laying a finger on the human path, blood spurts from his mouth, signifying critical internal injury. Finally recognizing the danger, Pain sends in his valuable Predapath, with the Spectre of Jiraiya bum rushing his flank and grabbing Naruto in a bear hug from behind, so that they may drain him of chakra and make an opening for the human path to attack from simultaneously. Unfortunately, the human path's power of soul extraction cannot be used here, as it runs the risk of killing the Nine Tails and vastly slowing their plans down. But that does not mean the Jinchuriki vessel has to be entirely intact. Drawing a kunai, the human path prepares to do away with Naruto's arms and legs, since they will only get in the way as he is returned to the Hidden Rain Village to await sealing. But before that path can do any such thing, Naruto displays that range is not the only enhancement Sage Mode gives him, with the young man deftly shaking the Predapath off and sending it crashing into the human, his base strength now comparable enough to someone like Zabuza or Jiraiya that shoulder throwing his master is now impossible even without chakra enhancements. Seeing a chance to kill two birds with one stone, Naruto readies the Demon Wind Shuriken to destroy both paths. But acting faster, Pain has the human path leap up to shield the Preda, having deemed the latter to be of greater use for the fight to come. As a result, it is only the human path who is easily destroyed when the Windmill Shuriken transforms into a clone after being thrown and uses a point-blank Sage Giant Rasengan to break the corpse doll into a useless state, leaving only the Deva path and the Preda bearing the shared master's face. Though he tries to hide it, Naruto's feelings towards fighting even a remnant of Jiraiya bleed through into his expression. Picking up on this, Pain decides to capitalize, having the Predapath charge head-on at Naruto to psych him out so he can absorb its chakra without resistance. However, like with the initial fight with the human path, Pain proves his fundamental misunderstanding of Naruto here, as the compassionate young man is not afraid of fighting Jiraiya. He just wants to give his master a better resting place than having his remains torn to shreds and scattered across the battlefield. And now, Pain has given him the perfect opportunity. As Preda Jiraiya reaches out to grab Naruto and suck his chakra dry, the young Jinchuriki does not resist. In fact, he assists in the effort, feeding the Preda all the sagely nature chakra he can handle. As he learned on Mount Myoboku, unfettered consumption of nature chakra has a funny effect on the human body, as it seems even a dead one is not immune as the Preda path is rapidly turned into a stone toad. Looking mournfully at the new ornament, Naruto prays that pervy Sage would prefer this to be the state of his remains, rather than being a threat to the leaf. Then without a word, his eyes shift over to the Deva, and without his corpse puppet will be forced to face him toe-to-toe from here on out. This, however, also means that from his hiding place, Nagato no longer needs to split his attention, and so can imbue his full power into the body of Yagiko, making it a true rival for the young sage. As one, the pair of warriors lunge at each other, Pain with a chakra rod and Naruto with a Rasengan. And as the two attacks collide, Naruto suddenly has an out-of-body experience, his vision of the battlefield being replaced by some dark cave-like place. It seems he is not alone here, as at his side stands the blue-haired woman from the fight in the Hidden Rain, her expression one of concern for him. But before he can do or say anything, the connection is severed, having only lasted an instant. However, despite him being back on the battlefield, something of this experience seems to have stuck with Naruto, like a faint buzzing in the back of his mind. And though something tells him it might be important, now is hardly the time to engage in deep thought, as there is still one more path of Pain to fight. Charging at the Yahiko puppet, Naruto attempts to use his inability to accurately read the frog who mutate to his advantage, and even gets a few good hits in by feinting and allowing the blow to land somewhere different than Pain had expected. This quickly overwhelms the Deva, with him resorting to his ultimate move, Planetary Devastation. At once, a small black orb begins forming between his hands, And though Naruto doesn't know what it is or does, it doesn't take a genius like Sasuke to guess that it's probably not in the interest of him or the village if he lets the bad guy use a movement name like that. Marshalling his chakra, Naruto creates another Rasen Shuriken, which he hurls into the black orb, and due to its nature, there is no way it can miss the miniature black hole sucking it in. However, the true target is not in fact the attack itself, but one of the hands forming it. As with a whoosh, the whirring wind blade slides cleanly through the arm Naruto had previously damaged, dropping it to the ground and dissipating the half-formed singularity. From his hiding place, Nagato lets out an incensed roar that this leaf shinobi would mutilate Yahiko. While on the battlefield, the Deva path mirrors the action. He then lunges at Naruto, forming a chakra rod staff from his other hand and attempting to skewer him with it. Due to Pain's blinding rage coupled with the attack coming from his non-dominant hand, it is a drunken lurching gesture as he lashes out like a rabid animal. Using his Sage in hand speed, Naruto easily avoids all these blows, using this opportunity to figure out a plan to land a finishing blow. Since with Pain going all berserk, he really has to end things quickly. Then, the unthinkable happens. Sage mode ends. This would normally not be too much of an issue, but in this case, Naruto's sudden slowing and reduction in dexterity is just what Pain needs to close the distance between them and bury a chakra rod in his side. Naruto screams as blood spurts from the wound, soaking his jacket, and a moment later, he collapses from the agony of it. Coldly, Pain stares down at him, growling that he will wait until Naruto has lost enough blood to pass out. Only then will he take him, as he digs the weapon in deeper to aggravate the wound. Because unlike the One-Tails, he will not be allowed to sleep through his extraction. Instead, Pain will see to it that he remains awake for every agonizing moment as the Nine-Tails is ripped from him, truly forcing him to know pain before he dies. Despite his anguish, Naruto attempts to spit back a retort, gutsy to the very end. But before he can do any such thing, a blue lion pounces on Pain's head. For a second, Naruto thinks he is hallucinating from blood loss. But then he sees none other than Hinata with a pair of spectral blue lines protruding from her fist, and she is not the only one, as Pain is kept on the defensive by a coordinated assault from Konohamaru's team, this time led by Ebisu of all people. With the second lion, Hinata aims a body shot at the invader, while Konohamaru tries to strike the opponent with a Rasengan, declaring that this is for Zabuza sensei. However, this time Pain anticipates the attacks, and so is able to deftly leap back, sneering at them to do better if they truly intend to protect the Nine-Tails. Through his rapidly weakening voice, Naruto cries out for his allies to run, since they're not strong enough to take Pain on by themselves. But from behind him, Naruto hears a pair of familiar voices, with the first silkily asking who said anything about Hinata and Co being the only reinforcements, while the second snaps at Naruto to stop screaming, since if he keeps it up, he'll bleed out before she can save him. Turning his head, Naruto sees the newcomers of Sakura inside, with the former bending down and applying her chakra scalpel technique to cut through the chakra rod embedded in Naruto's side, so she can lessen the trauma when she extracts it. Sai then assists with this, and once the rod is gone, Sakura lays her palm against the open wound, helping to seal it with chakra. Thanking his friends, Naruto rises to his feet once more, and though Sakura urges him to stay down and rest since more reinforcements from the village are coming, Naruto shakes his head, saying this is his fight, and that it's his fault Pain got this far, and now he's got to end it. He then flashes back into Sage mode, having used the time he was down to gather nature chakra, and as he raises his hand high, a Sage Rasen Shuriken bursts into life. With a cry for Hinata and the others to move, Naruto throws the jutsu, and as his precious ones dive to the side at the last moment, Pain is not so lucky, being struck head-on and eviscerated, ending his threat to the village. Naruto looking on with regret for the fate of his master's other student, stumbling a tad from the intensity of the battle. Smiling, Sakura puts an arm around Naruto to steady him, saying that they won, and now they can go home. But with a shake of his head, Naruto replies there's one more thing he has to do. Something he felt when he and Pain clashed, and then again when he had that rod in him. Worriedly, Hinata tells him that surely it can wait until he's had some time to rest. But with a sigh, Naruto replies that it can't. As with a toad-like leap, he leaves his friends behind. Now that he has a clear idea of what that feeling from earlier was, as well as its source, Naruto has no trouble tracing it back to Nagato. The emaciated redhead is not what he expected, but all the same, he approaches, his stance neutral and his Sage mode ended. Despite this, the brittle voice of Nagato asks the boy has come to kill him, with Konan leaping between them, a kunai in hand. Shaking his head, Naruto says that he has not. He just wants to talk with Nagato, to ask him why he's doing all this face to face, since he said before that the leaf killed his friends and destroyed his village. In a calm tone that clearly carries decades of hurt below the surface, Nagato begins to explain the events that put him on this path, starting with the Second Shinobi World War and leading up to the death of Yahiko. Throughout this story, Naruto listens without a word, and when Nagato is done, he gives his sincerest apologies for all his village did to wrong him, admitting that he can see why Nagato would struggle to give up his hatred. He then turns his back to leave, urging Konan to take Nagato and go home, since there is a chance that other Hidden Leaf shinobi could find this place and would like to take revenge. This simple act of kindness stuns Nagato, who tells the boy to stop, asking once more if he truly does not intend to kill him for all he did to his village. Shaking his head once more, Naruto repeats that he doesn't. It's like he said before, he doesn't want to create the sort of cycle of hate between them that led to this fight. Nagato's eyes go wide at this, disbelief etched into those purple rings, and in a small voice, he mutters that it seems Naruto might be the child of prophecy he never was. Very well. He'll put his faith in this boy to bring about true peace, and help him as best he can. Gasping, Konan asks if Nagato means that, to which the redhead nods, apologizing that he cannot see Naruto's new world with her. But if this young Uzumaki is to bring the peace they crave, he will need all his allies with him, and after so selfishly taking them, the least he can do is give them back. He then raises both hands, and with a cry of strain, performs the Rinne Rebirth. Back in the confines of the village, all those who fell during Pain's assault begin rising to their feet, alive and well once again. Kakashi and Zabuza are among them, with the pair sharing a look that says they were right to put their faith in Naruto, and what's more, saw something meaningful in the world between this one and the next. Thanks to the damage to the village being vastly lessened, and Tsunade not having been forced to summon Lady Katsuyu due to far less civilian casualties, she only needs a few days rest to recover fully, meaning that she is conscious and able to receive the envoys when they come with their grim news that Sasuke has seemingly joined the Akatsuki. Additionally, when a 5 Kage summit is called shortly afterwards, Tsunade is the one to be in attendance, choosing Sakura as her trusted student and Naruto as the newly dubbed hero of the Hidden Leaf to act as her retainers. Though uninvited, another Leaf representative does make his way to the summit, that being Danzo, who intends to use Tsunade's history of leniency with Sasuke to ferment distrust in her capabilities as a leader, with the end goal being to have her step down as Hokage so that he can assume the mantle. However, little does the Shadow Hokage know that another figure is rapidly making his way towards the Land of Iron, that being Sasuke, with plans to assassinate him for his role in the Uchiha massacre, and Itachi's life of misery and disgrace. Meanwhile, Kakashi has been placed in charge of a Jonin squad, made up of himself, Zabuza, and Yamato, with their mission being to capture Sasuke and prove the veracity or lack thereof regarding his Akatsuki affiliation. Using his last known location, as well as the fact that it now seems Naruto is one of the sole remaining Jinchuriki, and thus the Akatsuki's main target, Kakashi's team start their search near the Land of Iron, hoping that if the Uchiha survivor really is hunting Jinchuriki, their paths will cross. Unfortunately for the Konoha contingent, Madara has informed Sasuke of this incoming pursuit, and so using Karin's mind's eye of the Kagura, Taka is able to safely avoid them, making their way to the Land of Iron without incident. Here, they are met by dozens of samurai, battle-hardened warriors trained from youth to defend their masters, though even they are no match for Sasuke, whose lust for vengeance has blinded him to anything else, turning him into the human embodiment of destruction that cuts a swath directly into the summit. However, at this point, Sasuke comes across someone he had not expected to see again, at least not so soon, having paid little mind to the bright and warm chakra Karin had mentioned while scouting, and that is Naruto. Wasting no time, the rogue Uchiha attempts to dispatch his former best friend just as he did the samurai, but drawing his own blade, Naruto easily parries this, forcing Sasuke back, but to his shock, not following through with an attack of his own. Instead, he urges Sasuke to stand down, since he knows Itachi's dead, so that means he can finally come home. However, with a guttural snarl, Sasuke declares that the leaf is no home to him, activating his Mangekyo Sharingan at last and charging forth for another attempted kill shot. Gritting his teeth, Naruto has to burst into Sage mode, his blade flashing as it clashes with Sasuke's, while the truth settles in his mind. Just like with Pain, this fight cannot be prevented, only ended as quickly and bloodlessly as possible. Sighing in recognition of this, he alights the snow demon with his chakra and prepares for another clash. It seems fate has other ideas though, as Naruto is not the only one to have taken notice of the Taka's arrival, with the 5 Kage as well as their aides quickly leaping into action to capture or kill the team of missing ninja. The sole exceptions are Sakura and Tsunade, who attempt to defuse the conflict, standing between the Kage and their enemies, imploring them to give Naruto a chance to resolve this. However, this falls on deaf ears, as A declares that these thugs kidnapped his brother, so he's going to make them pay no matter what, while Danzo watches from the shadows, wondering if perhaps the Uchiha boy has come to avenge his brother. Danzo is not left to wonder long though, as from behind him, a pair of hands grab him, one over his mouth while the other binds his arms and torso. A swirling void then opens up before the Shadow Hokage, and before he can act, he and Madara are sucked inside, with Madara reasoning that it's best for him to hold on to Danzo for now, so that he can play his final part later on. That way, Sasuke can focus on his duel with the Nine-Tails. And thus he does, as in the center of the fray, the duel rages on, with Sasuke and Naruto seemingly being a perfect match for each other now. Even when Sasuke draws on the two Kiba blades to overwhelm his foe, Naruto's larger blade is able to handle both of them, even deflecting Sasuke's raw lightning chakra with equally potent raw wind as a testament to Naruto's devotion in catching up once again. This frustrates Sasuke to no end, as he wonders how this idiot is always able to claw his way up to his level. But all the same, he presses on, feinting left, then delivering a cut to Naruto's right shoulder. Though in his zeal to take Naruto out, he leaves himself vulnerable, and so endures the crushing pain of Naruto bashing his weapon's guard into his left collarbone to break it. Over with Tsunade and Sakura, they are engaged in a taijutsu match of their own, acting as the shield that holds a bag from taking Sasuke's head, and the Hidden Leaf ninjas with it if they get in his way. To their credit, the master and student duo are able to hold their own, going knuckle to knuckle with the Raikage in his attempt at blitzing. But it seems they are not the only ones he has to contend with, as Sasuke's associates, led by a red-headed girl with glasses, are also trying to keep the Kage away from Sasuke, engaging the Tsuchikage and his aides. As for Mai and Gaara, they remain neutral parties, picking no fights, though Gaara does vocally advocate for his colleagues to put their faith in Naruto. This chaos all comes to a head when Madara once more makes himself known, standing above the combatants and declaring the start to the Fourth Great Ninja War, and his intent to carry out the Eye of the Moon plan. Understandably, this brings a halt to most of the fighting, with only Naruto and Sasuke continuing on, their clash growing only more fervent, as the presence of the other eggs them onto new heights. Finally, however, a break in the battle does come, when using a trick from his fight with Pain, Naruto spins his blade in a wide arc before smacking Sasuke with the flat side, sending him soaring into the air before crashing back down in a heap. When he does not immediately get up from this, Tsunade, Sakura, and Naruto all rush over to detain him. But before they can reach their battered target, Madara appears between them in the same swirling method in which he revealed himself to the summit. In his rich baritone, the living legend informs the group that he'll also be taking Sasuke and going now, though he is certain they will meet again very soon, as he still requires the Nine Tails Naruto has inside him. Urgently, Sasuke tries to scramble to his feet to resume the fight with his rival, but before he is even on his knees, Madara has warped him away. Seeing that they have been abandoned, the members of the Taka promptly surrender, and as they are taken into custody by the Kage's aides, topic of discussion quickly turns to how to best protect Naruto as the seeming final piece of the puzzle in Madara's so-called Eye of the Moon plan. During this conversation, Naruto is dispatched to help secure the perimeter, as Tsunade knows that he will want to fight on the front lines of the war if given the choice, and so uses this time to propose the boy be hidden somewhere far from the conflict instead. Perhaps in part as an apology for his actions in trying to attack her and her student, Abe more quickly offers her the use of a secret Jinchuriki training ground hidden within the Land of Light, where his brother was also able to truly bond with the Eight Tails. Graciously, Tsunade accepts, and so with this settled, the five Kage turn their attention to the next order of business, preparing for a war which will decide not just the fate of individual nations, but the world as a whole. But this, my friends, is where we'll be leaving this story off for right now. That is going to do it for part 10 act 2, you guys, and I hope you really did enjoy it, especially with some of the kind of twists and turns I tried to go into. I often joke that this story is really what if Naruto became a swordsman, but I think the true core of it is what if Naruto's ambitions and just kind of his core character stayed a little more true to what it originally was in those opening chapters of the story. And I think I've done a fairly good job at keeping to that. So things like, you know, the sword becoming kind of a symbolic thing for him in certain fights, and then in other fights, the symbolism is kind of still there when he has to actually use it as a weapon. I think all that's really important. Though this is just kind of something I wanted to ramble about in the end here. As we head into part 11, it's either going to be split into acts itself, or we'll make a part 12 that'll be the finale, so it can serve as an epilogue that'll feature the events of this universe's versions of the last and then the beginning of the Boruto era. That all depends on the scripting, so be sure you're keeping an eye on the community tab for updates and stuff like that. For now though, we gotta move on to the shoutouts of this video, and the first massive shoutout goes to Pickle Dill for helping me script my thoughts out in the time crunch I had to do it in, and to Val for the new custom visuals you saw me use throughout this video. And especially big shoutouts to the people who truly enabled me to get those visuals made, the channel supporters in the form of members and patrons. Aside from Knuckles OX and Crimson Manifesto, we have Pizza 15X, Aaron Winters, Normandy 1998, Shao Pai, Coder SV3, Ronin Charizard, Daniel Smith, Drax, Dylan Wolfdog 31, Infernate Beast 326, Jay Uray, Johnny, Narku, Omar Cousins, Snow Slash Memes and more, Stephen Norton, Taryn, The Shadows, Vegeta What Ifs, Alamancer, B, Blood Down, Lyman Rogers, Omar Muhammad, Arcana of the Heart, Acho, Tay, Inebriated, John Sullivan, Trent Rouse, Dark Shadows, Pokemon Trainer Cam, Riverjoy, Elijah Edwards, Mr. Hamtastic, Jesus is King, Half an Onion, Angel Gonzalez, David Spalding, and Lil T910. Thank you guys as always for your incredible direct support of the channel. It does mean a ton to me. And for those of you that are just regular viewers, make sure after you've left a like, commented your thoughts, and subscribe that you think about joining the ranks. And always take care of yourselves and the world around you. And go beyond plus ultra. And I'll see you guys next time.